when we say that most of the histories that are taught in our schools are not the real thing, this is what we mean by that.
History wants you to believe that when the colonizers came to Africa, we were backward, uncivilized, uneducated, uncouth, barbaric savages, and we were in awe of mirrors and umbrellas, and even sold our families away into slavery for mirrors and umbrellas. History wants me to believe that the people who made all of these arts that are presently sitting in museums in the Western world were made by people who were backward, uncivilized, and uneducated. These people saw mirrors and were in awe. Take a close look at this majestic art. Shout out to Mali, by the way. This is from Mali. You see the star sign, 2 star signs that's clearly crested on this art. Stars that both have a half moon over them, to be specific. This was made before colonization and was stolen during. Bless my ancestors. They want me to believe that they could do this, but they were backward, uncivilized savages who were in awe of mirrors. You are probably wondering, why is she going on and on and on about the mirrors? Yes, I have to go on and on and on and on about the mirrors, because maybe if I go on and on and on about the mirrors enough, it will start to make sense as to how exactly a people who can do this would be in awe of mirrors. The people who created all of this were considered to be 3/5 of a man, less than humans. But then they came and stole the works of these men that were less than men and put them in museums where we cannot even find their own works to compare with. A people so great and progressive that was spread out all across the continent was reduced to nothingness in the history books. And the saddest part is that we, the descendants of these people, believe the BS in the history books. Quoting Darren, a South African TikToker, who once said, "They interrupted our civilization. They did not bring us one." Dear African child, be careful what history you read. Dear African people, we need to start doing something about the history that's being taught on this continent. Yes, victors really do write history, but it's up to us to have common sense and really take a close look at the victors' history. Scrutinize it, because it could very much be white lies that mimics fogs that inhibits you from seeing your paths to your black truths. Have a love.
They don't teach us that in schools. They don't tell us about ourselves. They tell us about you guys, and they tell us about the Queen of England, and they tell us a bunch of stuff that has no significance to us, that shows us that puts in our head that, look, we have no power and all we are is inferior to these people. I also want the truth of our history before slavery and before the white man came and before all that, to be the real history that's told. This is not how it always was. Some people came here and lied to you and took the crown off your head and told you that you were a slave, when really they came here and met you as a king.
The African history you know are being adulterated. They were formed, orchestrated in a way that everything that have been said about us are things that will make us feel so bad, things that will make us hate our ancestors. Have you forgotten that part of history that keep repeating itself? That when you talk about this issue of slave trading, they keep telling you to go back to your ancestors, go back to your parents, let them tell you more. They were the ones that sold uterus. They were the ones that did this. They were the ones that did that. That part of the history that was played with. Now, because they are no more, a lot of things that they felt that they hid, they felt that we wouldn't get to know. And I keep saying that God have the way of doing his things. Nothing will last forever. There will be a time it's going to be open. There's nothing hidden that will be hidden forever. They said a lot of things to us. They told us things that most of the times we look at ourselves and then we ask ourselves if we are really good, if we really have conscience, and then we feel that there is nothing good that can come out of us. We do not have humanity. We are like this since we are dark. That is how our minds are dark, because they say the devil is dark, so we are devils, we are inhuman. All these things were things that a group of persons sat down, told themselves, this is what we should do. And do you know why it keeps lingering? I keep saying it here on this channel. Do you know why it keeps lingering? Because they teach it to their children. The procedures and processes they use, they teach it to their children. Hence, whenever they are practicing whatever they do, whenever they are exhibiting whatever plans they planned, whatever they had planned, they bring their children there to see how they do it, so that their children in turn could take over from them and do the way their parents had taught them, and they themselves teach it to their children. And this is how it keeps going. It's a continuous process, African people. It's a continuous process, and this will keep happening. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing is wrong. But because they feel that they are the only ones that should be alive, they are the only human that deserve life, they've thrown away every bit of humanity in them. They only value themselves. And that's why I keep saying, we always happy going to make, have agreements, creating treaties with these people. Jump in and being happy, they're giving us so amounts of dollars, they're going to help Africa.
When you look at this pic and read whatever is written on, can you explain why Gaddafi died? Do you understand why John Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania died? Do you understand why Marcus Garvey? Do you understand why Julius Nyerere? Do you understand why the Kwame Nkrumah died? Because they would never allow this kind of nonsense. They knew the strength of the continent, they knew the wealth of the continent, and they would only love to exploit their own mineral wealth to enrich their continent, and they would not allow the foolishness of these white billionaires to come and exploit Africa. But currently the African leaders are just smiling when they hear that the white billionaires coming with the 850 billion. African leaders put on their smiles. The current ones, they're full of money minded. They're wealthy men, still greedy. They will never think of African future. They cannot think that 850 billion is brought to exploit their own land. They think that the white man can spend 850 billion of his wealth just spending on Africa. Do you think that this guy can spend this money without a darker motive? African leaders never think of this. Those who think critically and in line with African glory are murdered. They are eliminated.
Most of the things that are being taught in Africa are things that will keep us being the way we are, that will keep us being so dull, so underdeveloped. Things we have been hearing these things now. We have been hearing these things. How much more do we want us to talk again? For us to pick ourselves up, for us to do what is what, for us to say enough is enough, for us to be awakened as the African people. You know, most of the times when I see things that these people can do, I ask myself, what kind of human being are these? I don't know if you have that question in your mind. Sometimes I ask myself, what kind of persons are these? What kind of human beings are these? Do they have conscience at all? Do they feel like the reason is that when it comes to us, their conscience is dead? Take it or leave it. When it comes to us, their conscience is no more. And then we go ahead, opening ourselves up, telling them everything, taking them where we're not supposed to take them, doing what we're not supposed to do with them. We marry their daughters, we have children from them, we deceive ourselves and say we are one. At the end of it all, they go into the inner chamber and make discussions like this. They make implement things like this. Secretly, they are dealing with us. Secretly, they are holding the keys to our senses. They are holding the key because they are trying to rewind. They are trying to force our senses down, so we wouldn't be reasoning. Because there are some things that happen that normally you ask questions, but sometimes you feel, this is the norm, this is how it should be, this is it, and we keep doing it when it shouldn't be. Who are we as Africans? This is a question that comes to mind whenever I see things like this.